Here in Monaco, there's your race leader, Lewis Hamilton. Won, of course, here before, from third on the grid, and has led all the way here so far this afternoon. This is his brother, Nick, fresh from his British touring car test just a few days ago. Racing driver in his own right, of course, these days, and watching his big bro from the garage, Mercedes garage today, surrounded by supermodels. It's a great life, isn't it? As Felipe Massa now makes his second stop of the afternoon. His race pretty much being compromised from contact with Maldonado at Saint Devote, wasn't it, at the first lap? After he made, not for the first time in his career, a really good start, but then as soon as you go into the corner and everyone kind of closes up together, Massa came out a little bit worse, sadly.
Raikkonen 9/10 faster than Ricciardo on that previous lap, pulled out a gap now, so I think he will be catching the second Red Bull of the afternoon, and if he gets half a chance, Kvyat's pace pretty solid as well, 1:20s, but the leaders, the top three, all in the 1:19s now.
The gap out in front, Hamilton, I think, has decided he doesn't really want it to go much under 8 seconds. So he's just started to go that little bit faster himself. And I don't know if this is great moments or worrying moments for a race leader, because you've built out a nice advantage. You've had the pit stops, Martin, but you know here that anything can happen at any time. Someone's gone off, something's happened down at Saint Devote. You can see the yellow flags being waved. There's a car down there. Oh no, Fernando Alonso, what has happened here? Approaching Saint Devote, lock up, straight on. And is that mechanical again?
It looks like it, pretty similar to what he had in practice, in qualifying rather. And I'm not sure I'd be hanging around there too long.
Fernando Alonso running on for a points finish for the first time this season. Yesterday in qualifying he lost all electrical power and the car just switched itself off, and I wonder if something very similar has happened today. He had brake problems, of course, in Spain with a tear-off visor covering the cooling on those brakes, but today posts his first Monaco retirement since 2004. He's only finished twice in 6 races this year.
Bottas versus Verstappen. I've got a feeling we're going to be saying that for quite a few years.
And we're watching it right at this moment, although there's no chance that Verstappen can get through at Saint Devote. The yellow flags are still being waved while the marshals recover the car.
Flag on his steering wheel there, it says, just to remind him. Those systems are getting quite refined now, aren't they? But the driver's information disappears.
Look fairly close on board. It looks even closer, that battle off board, doesn't it? You can sometimes catch people unawares at the Lowe's hairpin, but not very often. Down into Mirabeau, to Portier, I should say, there's the chance. The seafront, as Nico Hulkenberg showed on Kevin Magnussen last year, but I wonder here, under braking, he's just a bit too far back, isn't he? Verstappen, even for some of the late braking moves we've seen him pull out this year to get past Bottas.
Yeah, he hasn't got the drivability or the sheer grunt coming out of Portier through the tunnel to beat the Mercedes-engined Williams. They tend to carry a little bit more drag as well on the Toro Rosso. The Williams is always pretty slippery through the air. So there's going to have to be a Dan Deere move down into turn 1 with a bit of DRS assistance, although he's got slightly out of shape through Raskas. Got a touch wide, did Max Verstappen in the Toro Rosso. That's why he's nowhere near the back of the Williams. But these, despite various troubles through the afternoon and that horrible pit stop for Verstappen when the right rear wasn't ready to go on, he's still got a chance of some World Championship points.
Unlike Fernando Alonso.
What happened?
No, Jensen, we don't think it affects us. We do not think it affects us.
But do we know, Ted Kravitz, what happened to Fernando?
Fernando said on the team radio he felt it was a gearbox problem. He was immediately told by his engineer to pull over to the side of Saint Devote and actually turn the car off. Yesterday's problem was an MGUH failure, as I understand it, part of the hybrid system, the energy recovery system, the generator that runs off the turbo. If it is, I'm trying to think, maybe it's hydraulics of Fernando Felter's gearbox, that wouldn't indicate, as the Marussia gets well out of the way there to avoid this fight, doesn't he? But it wouldn't indicate that it was the same problem as Fernando Felter's gearbox problem. But that's what we're looking at the moment, hydraulics or some sort of gearbox issue.
If you're going to buy Will Stevens and Roberto Merri anything as a birthday present, make sure it's not a blue flag. I've seen far too many of them today for their liking, I think. Gap out in front as we watch the battle between Bottas and Verstappen for 11th and 12th. Is now 9.4 seconds, or was 9.4 seconds. At the end of lap 44, you can see Hamilton through Sandervoort, and starting yet another lap. It's now up to 10 seconds, the gap between the two Mercedes, and more importantly from Rosberg's point of view, 1.6 seconds to Sebastian Vettel.
Ricciardo is struggling ahead. He is struggling ahead. He is on the same strategy as you.
Well, Sergio Perez on the last lap went a full second faster, and it wasn't to do with traffic, Martin.
Except Ricciardo's just done a personal best, 120.4.
And Perez responds with a 120.2.
Oh, take that.
Yeah, 30-15 to the Mexican. So I wonder. Well, that was a personal best, you're right, but Perez seems to have found a little bit more pace there.
Yes.
And if you've noticed, as we just watch here, Sainz locking up. You'll notice that the track temperature has gone down about 5 degrees in the last 10 minutes or so. And I wonder how that... Yeah, I wonder if that now starts to change the grip that the drivers are feeling and change...
Jensen, Force India and Red Bull, similar pace to us, but higher DAG.
Just change things around a little bit.
Yeah, it's... especially as those tyres, degradation they call it, if they start to wear down, they're going to struggle a little bit. Because the rubber, when there's more rubber on the tread, it's what generates some of the heat in terms of just moving around. So if it does start cooling down towards the end of the race, we might see some drivers sliding around.
Will Stevens, who we saw getting out of the way at the chicane on the last lap, I wonder if he's in a bit of trouble. He's now lost a place to his teammate Roberto Merri. He's starting to drop back a bit from Roberto, nearly a second on the last lap. And if there's a mechanical issue in that one, or it's just back marker troubles, we'll see. He's got no one around him at the moment to move out of the way for. Ted, down to you.
Crofty, while you're talking about blue flags and back markers having to move out of the way as the Toro Rosso is just going to come into the pits, I want to see, is this going to be Sainz, Crofty? Tell me.
This is Max Verstappen coming in, actually.
That's a second stop.
It is, and they'll go on to the super soft tyres.
Oh, there's a loose wheel nut. I'm just going to catch it. Marshall has just caught the wheel nut. Oh. Actually, our cameraman Lee has just caught the
you get a souvenir then, Ted?
Yeah, okay. Oh, no, they want it back, apparently. Apparently, Jensen Button's been on the radio complaining that the back markers aren't moving out of the way quickly enough when they're shown blue flags. But then Roberto Merri has been on the radio saying, guys, don't tell me I've got blue flags when the quicker car behind me is so far back. Tell me when he's much closer to me. And his Mana Marussia team saying, look, we have to tell you when we get the message from race control. So, I don't know, Crofty, it's not very often that I agree with you, mate, but I agree with you that we should probably get rid of these blue flags. It is a silly situation now. They're smart enough to sort it out themselves, aren't they?
I remember sitting in a driver's briefing when Jean-Marie Balestre was ranting and raving, spitting flames about it, because there'd been a classic race the weekend, a couple of weeks before, it was a long, long time ago now, and it got disrupted and disbanded basically when they came across a load of back markers, and it was after that the concept of blue flags came in. They're quite extreme now, though. I do agree with you. You both.
Be strict on the 107% rule, maybe even make it 105%, so you haven't got cars that are so slow out on the track, but let everybody race. Maybe we'll talk about it in hashtag Ask Crofty after the race. Get your tweets in at Sky Sports F1, please, and we'll have a wee discussion at the end of this race, which, as it stands at the moment, is looking very positive for Lewis Hamilton. Looking very positive for Mercedes too. They run 1-2 on the racetrack, and a 1-2-3 with Sebastian Vettel that has taken 4 of the 5 races we've had so far, and are looking quite good at the moment to make that 5 out of 6. Kimi Raikkonen, the only other man to have stood on the podium this season, is still catching Danny Kvyat. Now the gap under 4 seconds. Daniel Ricciardo has put in another personal best lap of the race. The gap between himself and Sergio Perez, 5 seconds. Jenson Button still running in the points for McLaren, with his teammate Fernando Alonso out with a gearbox issue. Runs 8th at the moment, a long way clear of Felipe Nasser, who has Romain Grosjean behind him, and then Grosjean has Valtteri Bottas in very close company. Carlos Sainz is up to 12th now after his teammate Max Verstappen pitted for his second stop of the race. And I just wonder, Verstappen on the super soft tyres, faster tyres, will he be right on his teammate's tail by the end of this race? And will Toro Rosso let them race?
Button is lapping faster than the leaders at the moment. McLaren, for the first time probably this year, will take a lot of satisfaction from their raw pace at the moment. Not as much satisfaction as they will for some World Championship points, as strange as that may sound for that team.
It is the worst start to a McLaren season in the history of the team, a team that made their debut in Monaco at this very circuit back in 1966, and to this date remain the most successful constructor in Monaco, with 15 Grand Prix wins here.
Raikkonen was catching Kvyat for 4th very quickly indeed, but that's been a rest.